Okay, so here's a dangerous question. When did it become controversial to love your country? These days, flying your own flag gets you more side eyed than setting it on fire. Political correctness has been used to encourage us all to be considerate. Now it's become the morality clause of modern life, not designed to protect the vulnerable, but to punish the non compliant or just silence them. So, is it patriotic to love your country or just risky? We saw this last weekend. Wow, was it only last weekend? This has been such a long week.
It's been 84 years.
Fly the flag and you're provocative. Say British values out loud and you're political. Being proud of your roots, yikes. That's borderline on extremism. And you might as well just start prepping your apology video now. The English flag, that could be a microaggression. Funnily enough, though, every other flag seems welcome. Fly the EU flag, the Ukraine flag, the rainbow flag, the Palestinian flag, the trans flag, and no one bats an eyelid. In fact, you'll probably get a photo shoot in a blue tick. You are displaying your right of expression. And look, everyone has a view on what freedom should be. But one thing I've noticed is that saying something mildly conservative or even just slightly outside the usual media frame often gets read as far right. Not wrong, not unkind, just far right. And that label sticks. You can say the wrong thing in the wrong tone to the wrong audience on the wrong platform, and boom, your job, your friend, your sense of safety is gone. We still call it freedom of speech. What we actually mean is freedom of approved speech. If it flatters the narrative, it's welcome. If it doesn't, it's written off, or worse, weaponized. And all of this came to a head after something happened that should have just been a universal tragedy. Because the murder of conservative commentator Charlie Kirk made me realize that we're living in a weird time in our culture. And I'm not centering this video around him, but I just wanted to say something about it. Because whether you like him or not, the reaction to his death was deeply revealing. Some of the media coverage sounded almost smug. You could feel it in their subtext that maybe he got what he deserved, that maybe he got what was coming to him, that if you speak in ways they disagree with, well, that's just a risky check. But here's the thing, that's still freedom of speech too. You're allowed to think it, say it even. But don't be surprised when ordinary people, start to feel like they're living under a cultural double standard. Some speech is protected, some is punished, some is just quietly ignored unless it comes from the wrong corner of society, and then it's labeled. It's no wonder that we feel like we're just living in a, yeah, weird cultural double standard. But by the way, if you're still with me and you believe in nuance, please have a think about subscribing. So for years, we've been living under this soft, ever expanding umbrella of political correctness. Every part of our lives, from how we speak to how we think, has come under scrutiny wrapped in buzzwords like diversity and inclusion and representation. But over time, that umbrella didn't just shield, it separated. Because what started as a social safeguard slowly has become a cultural muzzle. We've seen the cracks, stories buried, actions delayed, consequences dodged, all in the name of not offending anyone. And in trying to protect every group, we stop protecting the truth. I think the biggest noticeable permanent social divide was Brexit. It divided families, friends, and society, and it seems that the cracks have deepened. I've not really noticed that since I've spent much of my life being on the opposite side of those around me, not deliberately, I might add. But that's the thing with political correctness. It trains you to keep quiet. And once you start holding back, it's hard to know where your voice ends and fear begins. Because real freedom, real dialogue, that requires mutual risk. You can hold liberal values and disagree on the method and the message. You can hold conservative values and still question the party line or the extreme behavior when it's there. That's what real freedom demands, nuance, not just noise. It requires letting someone speak, even if you find them unbearable, even if they voted for the guy that you hate, even if their politics are a complete ick. Because here's the part that no one really wants to admit, but freedom of speech only works when both sides agree on its scope. And the space you give me to speak might be a lot smaller than the space that I give you. That's the imbalance. I might defend your right to disagree with me, but would you defend mine? Just the mutual agreement that freedom means both of us get to speak, even when it's uncomfortable. Because right now, it feels like I let you talk and you cancel me, and you still call it free speech. That's not freedom, that's just hierarchy with better PR. Because some people forget that freedom of speech doesn't mean freedom from consequence. You might say something that I completely disagree with. You're free to say it. But I'm also free to think, I don't like you anymore. That's the point. You're free to speak, not free to be applauded for it. We say that we value freedom of expression, but what we actually value is approved expression. Try saying something outside the Overton window, that men and women are different, that immigration should be discussed honestly, that not all progress is good. And suddenly you're dangerous. You're dissenting. You're not just wrong, you're a problem, and you could even be a conspiracy theorist. And I wonder if that's the real threat to free speech in Britain today. Not only censorship by state, but by a divided culture. Because you don't need a prison to silence someone. You just need enough people to decide that they're not allowed in the room. And suddenly you start to realize the divide in this country. Freedom of speech has become this strange emotional gamble. Will they hear what I'm saying and what I mean, or just punish interpretation of it? We've become so busy saying the right thing because of what might happen that we've maybe stopped saying the real thing.
Hello, darkness, my old friend.
That's why the Unite the Kingdom gathering felt so important. People showed up, they stood up, and yet no party endorsed it, no minister showed up, not even a polite nod from the sidelines. And honestly, that silence was its own kind of statement. That's what freedom of expression looks like. You show love for your country, and you're met with suspicion, not solidarity. This should have been a wake up call to the Prime Minister, to the Mayor, to the councils, the police. Yet the concerns of the decline of British culture was labelled as far right by the Prime Minister and the Mayor of London. But let's start with the diversity of the flags. The Union Jack, the St George's Cross, the Saltire, the Red Dragon, the Irish Tricolour, St Piran's flag. The people, so many standing in such positive support of being British for their different regions and their different languages and culture, voicing common concerns about this country. Each of them represented something real, a region, a people, a history, not a tweet, not a political statement, not an algorithmic PR campaign. And it just made the comments from the Prime Minister and the Mayor of London seem so removed from what everyone else could see. The people of this country just want to be heard. I will be honest, I couldn't work it out. I just sat there thinking, you make a peaceful stand for your country, and what do you get? Labeled as extreme. You don't even get criticized for what you said. You get cancelled for what people assumed you meant. These people weren't agitators, they were just British people making a statement. And they got dismissed with a sweeping generalization. Yes, of course, there will always be individuals in a crowd whose views don't reflect the whole. That's true of every march, of every protest, of every movement. But to paint the entire gathering with the same brush just becomes so emotionally overclocked that the second our flag goes up, people don't see it as heritage, they see it as a threat. One of my favourite things is that when Sir Keir Starmer was asked about people flying the English flag, he said, "We put up English flags all around Downing Street every time the English football team, women's and men's, are out trying to win games for us." So let me get this straight. You fly the flag when the team is doing well, when we're winning, when it looks good on camera. But the truth is, the flag doesn't always represent success. It represents belonging. And the Prime Minister is opting in and out of when the flag is permissible and relevant and when it isn't. Because It's a weird time to be British. Maybe that's the biggest red flag of all. Because surely, if we want to build something, we have to start with the agreement on the fundamentals, our culture, our shared language, our governing laws. And yes, can't believe I'm saying this, even the laws of biology and fact. That's not extremism, that's just a foundation.
Did I stutter?
A nation is not a branding exercise. It's not a PR campaign. It's a home. And that's the thing, is that a flag doesn't have to represent you as an individual. It represents all of us, the good and the bad, those who lived and died for this land. A flag isn't a personal brand, it's a shared memory. It's there to be remembered. It's the oaks, it's the greenery, it's the hedgehogs and the hedgerows. It's all of us. Because without a shared symbol, we just become individuals. And a nation isn't made up of individuals with microphones.
Ironic.
It's made up of people who know how to stand side by side, even if they don't always agree. So here's what I think. Freedom of speech shouldn't mean freedom from consequence. You're free to say what you believe. You're free to speak, but no one's obligated to agree with you. And that's okay. That's healthy. What's not okay is the way we've started punishing the idea of disagreement, turning it into a warning sign rather than a conversation starter. We've started a climate where a difference in belief is treated like a moral failure. I hate to say it, especially if you're right-leaning. You say something conservative and you are labelled, you're dismissed, and maybe even demonized. And I'm not saying this doesn't happen to voices on the left. Of course it does. But there's been a particular narrative around what views are considered worthy. And for years, that narrative has leaned in one direction. Political correctness was meant to protect people, not censor the public square. But somewhere along the way, we stopped protecting people's dignity and started controlling their speech instead. There was a time when freedom and conscience walked hand in hand. You had liberty, but you also had limits, not legal ones, but moral ones. We didn't cheer when people died, not because the law told us not to, but because our conscience did. But now, if you object, you're accused of being wrong or religious, but the wrong religious view, or maybe even conservative, which is just about the worst thing you can be, it seems. This isn't about identity politics, it's about identity fear. And it's exhausting. Not just because of the hypocrisy, but because of the emotional gaslighting of it all. So here's the truth. Speech without conscience is chaos, but conscience without courage is silence. And we need both. And right now, we're not doing either well. We're not building bridges, we're building brands. We're not listening, we're just constantly reacting. We're not really free, we're just fragile. And it's costing us than just the ability to speak, it's costing us the ability to understand each other. But please, as always, let me know what you think below. And also let me know if you were at the United Kingdom march. I wasn't, but it looked absolutely incredible. And also please do have a think about liking and subscribing. It really helps out.